This episode of Simple Civics EdTalks is sponsored by informedsc.org, South Carolina's most comprehensive and user-friendly nonpartisan data center for critical information about students, teachers, achievement, and funding for public education. Bringing together district and state-level data, informedsc.org is a one-stop shop for researchers and champions to advance knowledge and inform action. InformEdSC.org is a special project of Public Education Partners, Greenville County. Hi, Simple Civics EdTalks listeners. It's Katherine Schumacher with Public Education Partners. With summer vacation just around the corner, Simple Civics EdTalks is going to take a 2-month hiatus. But before we go, Erin and Mary Leslie Anderson of Rooted Consulting join me to reflect on our first year and what we are most excited to dig into when we come back in August. Well, thanks, Mary Leslie and Erin, for being with me this afternoon. This is our season wrap-up episode of Season 1 of Simple Civics Ed Talks. Thanks, you all, for being our partners with me and Derek Lewis on this project this season.
Listen, I think from the time of inception, this has just become really something that Erin and I have really enjoyed doing, if I can speak for you.
It's also gone by so fast.
I know.
Didn't we just start?
Yeah. I know. It feels like it. So we're going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus over the summer. And then when we come back in the fall, instead of being every Thursday, drop episodes every other Thursday, just because we're trying to kind of balance the pressure of programming with our time. And so we thought that would be helpful. We're also going to have the fall in particular is going to be really intense because it's election season. So we'll have a lot of episodes dedicated to candidate interviews for the school board and various other things. So, but we thought we'd take just a little bit. This is going to be kind of a short episode, but we wanted to sort of reflect on some of our favorite, like this would be a clips show. If we were if it were like a TV show, we would do like a clips episode. But I was curious from y'all's perspective as you've kind of gone through, and you guys have hosted several, and then obviously, Derek and I have hosted some. What have been your favorites that we really, really would want to encourage people who maybe haven't listened to go back and listen to? Erin, what about you?
The first one that comes to mind, I have two. The first one that comes to mind is the high school episode.
Yeah.
I
with
Jeremy
Carrick.
So much
Yeah.
from Jeremy. That was fascinating. And we're not too far removed, right? Like I'm in a middle school. So I think I know a lot about what we were going to talk about that day, or thought I did. But I was just fascinated to hear how much planning and intention and early involvement on the career paths there is now compared to when we were all in school. And if you go listen to that episode, you'll hear us all kind of in shock of like, wait, we're not that far removed, and it's changed that much in 20 years.
Yeah.
The last 20 years is just incredible. It's incredible. So if you're not in high school with a high schooler right now, I would recommend that episode. Or even if you are, it's still eye-opening, but
I agree. We hear that from parents a lot, that just knowing ahead of time what's coming next is really helpful. I think if you have a middle schooler listening to that, same. If you have a middle schooler, listen to the high school one. If you have an elementary one, listen to the middle school one. Because those transition times are really, really critical. So
the other one I would say is technology. That episode was really interesting to hear from our tech specialist. And it was a good reminder of what tech in the classroom is supposed to look like. Yeah. And we all know that line has gotten a little blurred since COVID. And so that was a really great episode to get reminded of what
I think that's going to continue to be kind of a hot topic.
Absolutely.
It seems, and I think that's a good place to start, for those who wonder what the role of technology should be and what it's become thanks to COVID.
And a lot of pushback. I mean, a lot of pushback against technology in the classroom, and
going on right now.
Yeah, like a lot. And I think the especially for elementary kiddos, and I think that having a really thoughtful conversation about how it can be used effectively as a partner, as part of the puzzle of learning, I think is really, and I thought they did a good job of that. What about you, Mary Leslie?
I've just had the best time highlighting our community, period. I grew up here. I graduated from Greenville County Schools, and I've been working for Greenville County Schools my whole career. So I am like a loyal, and I'm so proud to be able to highlight and recognize the things that not only the school district is doing, but the community surrounding us that is supporting that school district. So
I mean, we are public education partners. Here
right,
we
right,
are.
right.
There we are.
Here we
Yeah.
are. And so I think one of my favorite episodes along both of those lines, number one, the early literacy
Mhm.
episode. I have worked in secondary literacy for my career. So to hear, I mean, I don't know how to teach somebody how to read, right? And so listening to Beverly and Austin talk about, the letters training and the importance of that early literacy and how it needs to be even earlier than it is, I think is something that is fascinating for me. And then also our episode with Girl Up Greenville and Kim Mogan, I do have a soft place in my heart for Girl Up, so I might be a little biased in saying this, but just those kinds of partnerships and organizations that are in our community are key to this educational
Yeah.
process.
And I think one of my favorites was the Communities in Schools episode
Mhm.
along those lines, where we had one of the Communities in Schools site coordinators interview 2 students at Carolina High School. And that is something as we move into next season, I'm really excited for us to find more space to talk to some of the community partners that are really wrapping around all of our schools. It's not just, a handful of schools. It's really community partners are essential to the success of public schools generally. And I think Greenville, I had a conversation with Ann Lee O'Brien. Her job at the district is to sort of help, manage those 600 different community partners. And obviously, we play a role in helping them do that. But it's a lot. And so I think there's so much opportunity there. What were some of your any other
So,
favorites?
yeah, and I think when we think about our community, I don't know if it is dreamy or naive to think that schools can be the center of their
Yeah,
communities.
the heartbeat.
Yes, and I want that so badly, and I do think we have a good many
Hmm.
who are centers of the areas that they are, but we also have some who we need to wrap our arms around and grow that. So, I'm with Erin too. I really liked the parental supports. I also liked the safety episode.
With Greg
And
Porter.
yes, with Greg Porter, but I want to go deeper into that because I think a lot of people don't understand exactly what safety in the classroom or in the school means. We automatically go to some kind of big
Yeah.
disaster.
Hard safety.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but I want to think about maybe even some conversation around kindness and friendships and how we build, that
The
piece
mental
of
health that I think, I definitely think we can
because that is
dig
part
into
of the
that deeper.
safety.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you both just hit on that schools can't do it alone. Like we are the hub of the community or the neighborhood that we are in. But we also know that we need all the support we can get. And so the episodes where we're highlighting all those different organizations, but also research like the Riley Institute and all the connections there, there's so many great episodes, but also potential for more great episodes of all the pieces that go into public education.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I'm going to also put a shout out for probably my favorite heart one, which was the one speaking of Valentine's
Yes.
with the principals,
It was so cute.
the married principals, which was really fun. And Elevate, I loved talking about the Elevate program and the impact that it's had at Lakeview and Alexander Elementary, and just talking about sort of beating the odds. And I think we talk about that a lot generally in public education and where are the bright spots, because we do have a lot of them here, which is really terrific. All right, so with that in mind, so we've talked about some of our greatest hits. What are you most excited to dig into as we think about programming for season 2?
Season
Season
two.
2. You just said beating the odds.
Yeah.
And I just kinda had to boom, like, how schools and school districts beat the odds every single day.
That could be a series.
Yeah, I
I need to write that
mean,
down.
I
A
don't
sub-series.
know.
A
That
sub-series of the sub-series.
Yes, yeah, that just kinda hit me because, I mean, I think in terms of our kids, Greenville County's doing everything right, and we need to keep on leaning that direction.
And we need the community to continue to support and invest in the schools to make that
And
happen,
in
which I'll
order
beat that drum. Yeah.
for that to happen, we need to understand if you weren't public education partners, if we weren't educators,
Yeah.
you think it looked like what you saw in school,
Yeah.
right?
Like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Or
or
more. Or
longer,
longer for some of us. But yeah.
But it needs. I think that our purpose here, to educate the community,
Mm-hmm.
is solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to go a little deeper with the topics that we are talking about in our schools right now.
Mhm.
So we have heavy conversations right now about how to help ML students, multilingual
Multilingual
students,
learners,
and
yep.
also our special education students. And what are we doing to meet the needs? And especially as for some schools, those numbers are growing very, very fast. So what are we doing? So I would love to speak on that, and also or have some people speak on that, and also go a little deeper with the GATE teacher experiences. I love that episode, and I thought, what an amazing program. And so I'm excited to maybe talk to some GATE teachers about what did you used to do and how did that transfer? Did it transfer well?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's exciting.
That's a great idea. We actually did an event last week about the 10th anniversary of GATE, and we had a bunch of GATE alums there, including, folks who are from that first. There was someone there from the first cohort, and then there were a couple of teachers who are first years this year, one at Lake Forest and one I think at Welcome. And this is the favorite part of my job, is getting to talk to educators and then be in classrooms with educators and students and watch that magic happen. But I think that's a fantastic idea. I think the more that we can talk to sort of the folks that are on the ground doing the work, the better it is. It's so exciting. And then I also, anytime we can bring students into the mix. So the conversation, this is another favorite episode from the conversation with the future teacher
I loved that
leadership.
episode. I had so much fun.
I mean, the baby teachers. I call them the baby teachers. I love them. And we just identified next year's leadership board cohort. Those announcements were just made. So, I just think there's some things that it's worth having a conversation almost every year. Teacher of the year.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with the teacher of the year every year. And I think that's something that we are really excited to do. I, being the super nerd at the table, of course, there are a few things that have kind of popped up recently that we haven't had time to cover sort of this season that I think we'll talk about next year, the sort of demographics and how do we plan for growth, and the idea that, Greenville is kind of this sort of story of declining population. Greenville and South Carolina generally are not really part of that narrative. And so while we've had a slight dip in enrollment in Greenville recently, we know, looking at the demographics, that the people that are moving here aren't just retirees. It's a lot of folks in sort of the demographic that are going to be having kids. And there is demographic growth, and we are having lots of births here in Greenville. So those kids are going to start moving up the pipeline. And I think that's an interesting sort of thing. How do you plan that? So that's something, again, just to echo what you said, Erin, I'm really interested in talking about special education more. And the district is making a lot of really strategic investments in special education as a result of some work that it has done in the last year to really study from top to bottom how we serve students with special needs. And so having conversations about what that's going to look like as it's rolled out, and then have some conversations again with parents and students with special needs to talk about that lived experience on the ground, I think will be really powerful. And then, of course, there's a school board election in the fall. So we will be doing candidate interviews, school board elections in November, and those will be sort of hitting the airwaves again in September and October. So encourage listeners to pay attention to that. There aren't any primaries for school board elections, so that will be that'll kind of come out of the gate just in the fall. But that'll be the sort of stuff that I'm interested in. And Derek, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, I'm sure he has a whole list. I know he's really interested in talking about, obviously, given what he does with Greenville First Steps, focusing in on the early element, the sort of early learning and the early supports. And there's lots of really cool work that's happening, sort of rolling up into the K-12 space that we want to shine a light on as well. Because I think when we talk about K-12 education, we've always sort of talked about it as this monolithic thing, and it starts when you enter kindergarten and then it ends when you graduate. And
It's not the case.
And no one thinks about
Yeah.
it that way anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard the new phrase is TK20, because really you're looking at this sort of birth through employment
I would love
sort
for
of
us to start saying
pathway.
that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I've loved having you all as partners. We've loved having you all as partners on this project this year. Anything else? Any other dreams, goals, hopes as we wrap up?
I just hope that we can continue to highlight, and which I know we can because there's so much to highlight. Keep highlighting because there's just so much good going on.
And I want to thank PEP in that, because we wouldn't be sitting at this table if not for First Steps and PEP and Greater Good Greenville for giving us this opportunity to shine a light on all the amazing things that are happening in Greenville County schools.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you both. It's been since we started, we have a list. When I tell y'all, we have a spreadsheet with lists and lists and lists of ideas. I mean, we really do. So we're excited to keep telling these stories. Starting, we'll probably kick off in probably beginning of August. We'll come back. But yeah, it's a joy to be with you all and talk about the work that you do, all to support the students in Greenville County schools, because we know that they, the future of
That's
Greenville is
right.
right in our classrooms today.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it's really a joy to highlight the good stuff on Simple Civics EdTalks. So thanks for being our partners in that. Simple Civics EdTalks is a joint project of Greater Good Greenville, Greenville First Steps, and public education partners Greenville County.
Hi, Simple Civics Greenville County listeners, Nathaniel here. If you've made it this far, then we think you'll really love our newsletter. Sign up for bonus content, updates, and more right in your inbox. Look for the link in the description that says newsletter to sign up, or visit us at simplecivicsgreenvillecounty.org. Find the link in the menu that says newsletter and sign up there. We'll see you again next week.